I do a lot of talks on disparities. Black folks have more cancer. Blacks have more. Black men particularly have more cancer, more diabetes, more this, more that. Well, the question is why? So the first thing I do is say that, you know what? Given our sojourn in this country, we actually have done pretty well. I mean, you think about it. For us to have a death rate that's only twice the death rate of people who have had access to medical care for 175 years before we did, to not be that far behind in terms of cancer rates and heart disease rates and what have you. And now, everybody, all Americans, black, white, and everybody else, we're at a situation in America now where our children are probably not going to outlive us as parents. It's that bad. And it's all due to what we're eating physically and mentally. And when I was growing up, there's 10 of us. We didn't even have meat every day. And I'm sure a lot of the seniors in this room grew up that same way. But we had lots of beans, greens, rice, you know, and we didn't suffer from a lot of the things that people suffer from today. The other thing that what happens is when you don't cook, when you don't go to the store and buy raw and bring it to your house and cook it, you don't know what you eat. So what's happening in not only black homes, but homes, whites, everybody, is we're not cooking at home. And I don't mean preparing. I don't mean opening a box or putting a bag in some water. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about buying fresh greens, or in the summertime going out to where you could pick them yourself. And one of the things we also talked about this church is an art that we're going to lose completely, and it's called canning. A lot of the older folks know what canning is, but most of the young folks don't know none about what that means. When I was growing up in school, I went to Chicago Public Schools. I grew up in Inglewood and went to Wentworth and the Bond School. And if there were 3 fat kids in the whole school, that was amazing. I'm just being, why? Because every morning, everybody's mother made breakfast. Cold, if it was cold outside, you had malto meal, grits, oatmeal, something hot, okay? And if it was summertime, you had Cheerios or something cold. But you always had a boiled egg, okay? And then your mother would make your lunch, and in our case, if we got aluminum foil, it was put in the bag. We had to bring the aluminum foil back home and the bag back home. I'm just telling the truth. I don't know if anybody else had to do that, but that's what we did. But she controlled what we ate, okay? It was not dependent upon the school to define to her what her child was going to eat. She knew. And then when we came home, dinner was always cooked, and we always ate at the table, and you didn't go in there pressing hamburgers and had little fry babies that you could make. No, you ate what was cooked, or you didn't eat it at all. And there was always some vegetables with it. There was always either some beans with it. There was always something. And then you had to go to bed, and you went to sleep. Okay? Now, why am I saying all that? Because that whole cycle has now been disrupted. A lot of times in our schools, so you give a child who hasn't slept, and they get a can of caffeine and some flaming hots on the way to school. So if they haven't slept and now they're jacked up on caffeine and sugar, what do you think their attention spans are going to be? It's not going to exist. And the same thing is true if you look at the dietary patterns of a lot of your quote-unquote criminals. You'll see that a lot of them suffer from very poor nutrition. Many of them will not be able to name more than 3 green vegetables. And a lot of young people, I was in a store the other day, and I was behind a young couple who obviously had some money. They had a shopping cart full of food, and there wasn't anything raw in it. Nothing. Even the meat that was in the cart was already cooked with the barbecue sauce on it, and all you had to do was take it out and put it in the microwave. The juice was all juice drinks, which is nothing more than colored sugar water or Kool-Aid. And all of the stuff that they see on television, these very fast images, and if we wonder why our children have very short attention spans, and you criminals may have short attention spans, is if you ever look at a music video, there's a scene change every 4 to 6 seconds. You don't have to concentrate on anything. You don't have to learn how to think. And these images are changing so very fast that I'm not a neuroscientist, but I can't help but think that that's not healthy, at least over a prolonged period of time. So when we try and put our students in a classroom that's moving at a snail's pace in terms of the learning, they've got more technology on their phone than their teacher knows how to use. And after about 2 seconds, they're bored and tuned out. When I went to Ghana, I went to the market, and they said they were going to buy chickens. And in Ghana, they were buying the chicken. They said, well, we don't go to a mortuary to buy our meat. They call our refrigerated section of the grocery store a mortuary because there's dead meat in it. They buy it live. The other thing I meant to ask, I had a friend of mine who went over and took over the Port of Spain General Hospital, the whole system, hospitals in Trinidad. And it was interesting. We started looking at some of the data before PepsiCo and after PepsiCo. So before PepsiCo, everybody ate, like I told you, stuff from the vendors, the stuff out on the street, and the incidence of some of the heart disease and strokes and diabetes was much lower, even though sorrel is like syrup. So, but after PepsiCo, what's PepsiCo? PepsiCo is Pepsi-Cola Corporation. At that time, PepsiCo owned Kentucky Fried Chicken, Pizza Hut, the Pepsi drink, and one other company. I can't remember which other company it was. But the largest and busiest Kentucky Fried Chicken in the world is in Port of Spain, Trinidad on Frederick Street. It is 2 stories. It is open 24/7 and is a half a block in size. I was just there not that long ago. Got a big TV on the outside, big screen on the outside of the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Since PepsiCo, heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, strokes have skyrocketed in these countries. We are exporting the American way of death.
Dr. Mason, I just wanted to applaud you for the work that you do. I first met you through the Restart program that I participated in last year. And I got here a little late, so I don't know if you mentioned that, but do you plan on doing something like that again this year?
Well, we did it already. Restart is every year starting in January. So we did Restart for January. I do absolutely plan to do Restart again next January. We will meet. We're changing the day. We're going to meet the first Tuesday of the month. Because I was wondering, and people weren't telling me, but a lot of people go to Bible study on Wednesday. So now I'm going to change it to Tuesday so people that would go to Bible study on Wednesday can come on Tuesday night. So for what people don't, when you talk about the Restart, what Restart is, oh my God, 7 years ago, I think, about 7 years ago, coming out of what I call the season of gluttony. And the season of gluttony starts on Thanksgiving Day and goes all the way through January 1st. That's when we eat more, drink more, all the mores. We do all of it during those times. And so we decided as part of really trying to get people to awaken themselves to a different kind of knowledge that starting January, because we know y'all had to have y'all black eyes and all the other stuff on January 1st. We asked people to join us to do just a few things. Number one, not to eat any meat for the entire month of January at all. What is meat? If it walks, hops, crawls, swims, slithers, got eyes, a mama, and a daddy, is meat. So is chicken meat? Yes. Is fish meat? Yes. Okay. Is turkey meat? Yes. So, and we convince people that you will not die. Okay. You will not die. There are many civilizations on the planet Earth that never, generation after generation after generation. So people say, where do you get your protein? Which is another miseducation. Because spinach contains lots of protein. We don't need protein in the levels that we're eating them. It is actually what's contributory to some of the diseases. Secondly, Rick Kittles, who's at the University of Illinois now, is at the University of Chicago, is a great brother who's done a lot of work in prostate cancer. But if you go home and look up heterocyclic amines, HCAs, you can just Google HCAs. Heterocyclic amines are chemicals that are known cancer-causing agents. Where do they come from? Whenever you cook meat at high temperatures, it releases HCAs. So barbecuing, charring, grilling, all that stuff and meat, beef particularly at high temperatures. So he started looking at prostates because we're trying to figure out, he's working on why do black men have this prostate cancer and all this kind of stuff. Well, it turns out when you start doing if you start coupling dietary studies with this other stuff, you'll find that there's some real interesting things. It's not that black folks genetically have something wrong. It is that our dietary pattern is passed down from generation to generation to generation. So and when I was eating beef, I was guilty of, I would tell them, look, I want to look just like me all the way through. And I really want it kind of crispy, I like that end that was kind of crispy, but that contained most of the heterocyclic amines. Now let me tell you a little secret. You say, well, our grandparents did a lot more boiling than they ever did frying. They made a lot more stews, soups, especially when you didn't have a lot, you take a bunch of stuff and put it in a pot, and you throw some veggies, and the next thing you know, you got a meal. You could take them bones that would be thrown out, ham bones or whatever that you use to just kind of season your water, whatever you call it. Actually, it was just to put the fat in. So what we're finding is that we have higher levels of these HCAs than a lot of other people.
But is that the food chain of our beef?
No, part of it's because of the way, part of it is that, but most of it's because of the way we cook it. So when you boil food, if you cook it above 375 degrees, you'll get this. But if you boil food, unless it's in a pressure cooker, it never gets above 212 degrees. Never. So if you look at the prostate cancer incidence in Illinois, in the United States, it's like this. In Qidong, China, it's like that. Why? Because they don't eat a lot of fried foods. And anything they eat, a lot of it, what they eat is boiled. It's boiled or steamed. And I was in Singapore, and if you want to see something in my mind that's ugly, I guess they would say the fried fish is ugly, but a steamed fish is really ugly. Because the steamed fish is just the whole fish, as you pointed out, and they steam it. But they don't have a lot of the issues that we have. So the whole point is the dietary pattern, America's plate is misshaped. The American dietary pattern is meat-centric. You go to a restaurant, the entrees are listed by the meat. Chicken, fish, poultry, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And they call the vegetables what? The sides. And what I'm saying is that in America, if we're going to do something, we need to flip that and make whatever meat, if you're going to eat it, the side, but the main portion ought to be the vegetable. So you should be ordering your salad or your greens or your green beans or your broccoli or your asparagus in sort of a medley or some sort of way, and then have a little bit of piece of meat. And then drink water. If you go to the bathroom and your water is dark, now I'm assuming you're not taking vitamin B because vitamin B complex will make the urine very dark yellow. But if you're not taking that and your urine is dark, that means it's concentrated. Your urine should ideally look more like water you drink. It should be almost clear. If you're thirsty, you're dehydrated. If you feel thirst, you're dehydrated.
What about juice?
Juice, well, juice is a real interesting sort of thing because juice is a great way to get a whole bunch of calories. So what most people will tell you, rather than drink juice, eat the juice. Eat the apple. Eat the orange. Eat the tangerine and get the juice that way, and you won't drink that much. Now, there are a lot of people that are juicing vegetables and all that kind. Jack LaLanne had a big thing about that. But what goes out the back of a juicer is all the pulp, all the fiber. Then he said, well, you could take that and make some other stuff with it. But no, the best way is to eat the stuff the way it comes out of the ground. And not, you know, I'm not against the juice from the store. I'm just saying if you really want the best way to do it, get the thing the juice is made from and eat it.